YouTube channel once again. Today we're going to show you a little bit about trimming out and siding and flashing. Right now this is actually a car garage. It has all lap, or it's going to have all Hardy, James Hardy lap siding, which is a cement composite lap siding material. And we like to use LP Smart Side or Smart Trim for all of our trim, and this is a structural wood made of chipboard or chip OS. Basically, it's an OSB material, but then they put a hard, very hard textured surface on the outside, and it's all pre-primed on all three edges. What we have on a typical trim, we like to do kind of more of a craftsman trim style. We've got 5/4, and 5/4 is really the actual thickness of this trim is 1 inch. This is a 5/4 by 4 LP Smart Trim, which is 3.5 wide, 1 inch thick. And then on top, we've got a 5/4 by 6 LP Smart Trim. And then above that is a 5/4 by cedar that we actually ripped to 2 inches wide to give it kind of that, I guess, lintel over the top. And then you can see wherever our light mounts are, we've got 5/4 by 8, and that is placed about 6 inches down from the top corner of the door to the top of that exterior light mount. Over here to my left, you see how we trimmed out a window. And again, kind of some important parts to this. It's trimmed out 5/4 by 4 all the way around 3 sides, but what's critical is that you run your side jambs or casings down to the bottom past this bottom trim, and that way if water gets in here, it will run out. Gravity can just carry it out. If you were to run this across and then run this down into it, you've got a place for water to get in and eventually deteriorate the trim. But you can see up here, I want to talk about some flashing. We use Z flashing above our window. As you can see right here, it's hard to see because it's covered up mostly by the header of the trim. But this is all bent and turned in. And essentially you'll notice that we have a 1/4 inch approximately gap between the header trim and the Z flashing which sits over the top of the window. And what that does is if any water gets in there, this is actually sloped slightly downward, it can always run out. And so you have no way for water to get into any of the places and get trapped. Okay? And again, you can see it's a similar style as what we had on the door trim. You got your casing, you got your header, and then you have the top piece here, which is 2 inch wide, sticks out a little bit. And you'll notice that we put a Z flashing on top of that. So again, anywhere where water can run down and hit a top surface, you want to have a way for that water to get funneled off of that surface, either to the side or out. And so there you have it. And then you can notice that we like to immediately caulk. And we use a tight bond door and window caulk, and that is a polyurethane based caulk that is going to hold up and give you good durability. That's this caulk right here. It's a Weathermaster sealant made by Tight Bond. It's siding, window, and door caulk, and we use that. We even countersink all of our nails and fill those over with caulking. You can see right here, we're installing another Z flashing over the top of this, basically this mount board, which is also LP Smart Trim. You can see when you put that in there, you can see how it's cut here and folded down. So again, so water can flow off of that. When we do our siding around this, we'll leave a 1/4 inch gap here at the top. And we'll just put a couple of nails, siding nails, right in there to hold that in place until the siding goes over it. Okay? So that's basically kind of a trim idea of what we do for trim. You can see over on the corner board over here, again we've got 5/4 It looks like it's a 5/4 by 4 on both sides, but what we do is this side is actually 2.5 wide, and so this has been ripped out of a 5/4 by 6, which is 5.5 inches wide when it comes from the factory, and then we can get 2 of these out of each 5/4 by 6. That is nailed, caulked and nailed. You can see the joint right there where they're put together to a 5/4 by 4. So on the other face, this piece here, it's kind of hard to see. We have temporary downspouts here. That's the other thing, is when you're working on a new siding job, since we're in January here, we're getting quite a bit of rain. It's not very pleasant to have water coming off the roof and dripping down your back. So we put the gutters on, but we don't want to put the final downspouts on until we're all done and the building's painted. So right now that's what this is. But you can see behind here, this is the other side of the corner, which is a 5/4 by 4. And of course these are all caulked very well. We forgot to fill this nail hole right here. We'll do that. But you want to caulk these, especially even in the summer here. We'll do it right away as we're installing these, so no moisture can get in there and cause any kind of expansion or any kind of issues. We also like to prime the back of our trim boards, these LP Smart trim boards, with an oil-based primer just to give them additional waterproofing. Okay, you can see we like to use Tyvek house wrap, and this is a water moisture barrier as well as it blocks air as well. The Tyvek, you can get a lot of other building papers which are certified and all of that, but Tyvek is proven to be a superior house wrap from all the rest. So it is typically, this is a 10-foot by, what do they come in, 10 by 150-foot roll. And that roll is about, it's expensive. It's about $180 per roll, but it's worth it in the long run. What we do to get ready for putting on the lap siding is, you can see these vertical lines, and those are every 16 inches. And Tyvek does have these red marks. You can see those, they go all the way up. Those are handy if you can get that Tyvek lined up right in the center of your studs. But we also go through and mark them with a black marker typically. So as we're siding, we know exactly where to put our nails. And so that's done all the way around the building. Okay? The other thing we do to prepare for the start of our siding, putting on our courses, you'll notice there's a snap. It looks like it's a marker line, but it's actually black chalk. That's the top of our bottom course. We're using 8¼ inch wide lap siding, and it overlaps each course by 1¼ inch, so you have a 7-inch exposure on your lap. And if we can pan over on the house, you can see the lap siding at the bottom is done. Those are 7-inch. And the nails will not be exposed because they get covered up, because you nail, it's a product that you top nail, and we'll show you that when we start putting it up. So, with the lap, you have to start with a bottom, I guess you call it a spacer, is what I would call it. And that essentially allows that bottom course to have the same slope. It kind of kicks it out by 1/4 inch. So you don't have, if you want it to match, when you look at the corner boards, look at the siding, you want it all to look consistent. And the other thing is, this line is snapped, so the bottom of our siding will hang over our foundation by 1 inch. And so you have an overlap there. So now what we're going to do is start cutting our courses of siding, and we'll start installing those. And of course we're going to have to go around things like this. This is an outdoor electrical outlet for this pump here. And so the next step we'll show you is how we get started cutting our courses. Okay, now we're going to determine what our lengths are for each course. And so we're going to start, hold the tape up against the corner board. And hardy lap siding, and usually most of the cement-based lap sidings, because they're heavier, the longest length is 12 feet. So I have a center of a stud at 141 and 3/8 to that one. So I'm going to write that down. Okay, and then we go back. We're going to go back 2 studs each time, because we don't want our joints to be closer than 32 inches, because it tends to look kind of odd. So 141 and 3/8. This one is 141 and a half, 109 and a half would be our next one. We go back 32. So we got 77 and a half. And our next one, 32 back from there, is 45 and a half. And we could go back here, but it's only about 12 inches from the end. And that's another piece that would look odd. So we're going to stop at 45 and a half for our last piece. The other thing that you'll notice, there's no windows other than this. Electrical box. There's no windows in this wall or anything to break it up, so we can literally cut. We're going to have, I go up to my belly band up here, we go about an inch below that. We're roughly 123 inches, and we got 7 inches per row. That's 1, 7, about 17 rows going up this wall. And so basically I have this 141, 109, 77, 40, but there's 4 pieces there, there's 4 courses. And so since we have 17, 18 rows, I can basically cut 4 of each of these measurements. And that's what we're going to go do now, is cut 4 at each of these sizes. So Kelsey's going to get a scrap piece of siding and write down these numbers, and then we'll take it over to our cut station and we'll cut it up. We'll show you how to do that. We're ready to start cutting each of the 4 sets of starter cores, or our different rows, starter rows. Since we need 4, I've got a stack of 4 siding pieces. And just to show you what we cut this with, bear in mind there's other ways to cut hardy, but this is the fastest way that we can cut it. It does create dust, that's why we have the dust mask. The blade that I found cuts best if you're going to cut it with a saw. This is a cordless Makita saw, and we got 5 amp hours in it. But the best blade is, I haven't found a better blade than Diablo. And this is a special Diablo blade that was made in conjunction with hardy. And you notice it only has a teeth. I think it's got 4 total teeth, and it's especially designed to cut this hardy siding, and it creates a little bit less dust. You can use a framing, regular framing blade, Diablo framing blade, but you do go through quite a few more. This blade runs about $45 at Home Depot versus a $10 framing blade. Okay, first get these sidings so they're perfectly in line with each other, and it's also critical that the ends are in line. And so take either a 2x4, 2x6, or some kind of flat surface material, and you just tap this until these are all lined up. Now our first measurement is 140. Do is just mark a line there. And these cut ends are going to go against the corner board and they'll get caulked. You actually leave a little bit of a gap for expansion. So I'm going to just cut these with the skill saw freehand. You've got to have the depth set. In this case I'm going to go over a little over an inch. Okay, here we go. Again, I cut all 4 at a time. Saves a lot of time. So we'll take this around and then we're going to continue cutting our other 3 sets. So these little tools are called geckos. They come in a pair. They're about $70 to $80. You can get them on Amazon. Home Depot also carries them. They're great for doing this type of siding. You can adjust them for just about any kind of exposure. We have these set for 7 inches. They keep you consistent all the way up the wall. And the other thing is, if you don't have a partner helping you side, you can literally do this siding by yourself with a set of these. Okay, so the starter, the first course, we cannot use our geckos because there's nothing to hook them onto. So you got the gun there, right? Okay, now when we put this up, we're going to hold the top right to our chalk line, and we're going to try to gap these away from the corner board about a 1/16 or so, maybe just like right there. And that just allows for expansion. And make sure you get it right on that line. And then we want to put our nails go nice and flat against the, don't put them in an angle. We want to then check as we go down. I'll lift it or lower it. She's putting the nails in about 1 inch below the top edge. That way they'll be hidden, yet they'll give us good holding power. And just tap these, make sure they're in. You can do it by feel. You want to be even with the surface. Now go ahead and put the caulk. We're not going to caulk all of our edges because it's a little wet out today, and so, but we are going to put the bead of caulk extend over the top of the hardy about 1 inch down. And we actually made a mistake down here. We forgot our bearskin. So these are called bearskin. They're like Tyvek, maybe a little tougher. They're UV resistant. They go underneath all of your joints. Because Hardy does not recommend caulking the joints in the field anymore. Because it just opens up over time, and then you get water behind there and you get mold.
She's got to put that down. Right in the middle, straight. There you go.
See, yep. Okay. Now what we'll do is we've got to mark this second piece. The other thing that's real important is the factory edge of the Hardy is going toward the field. We'll put the cut edge, which is my left side, against the corner board. We've got to cut around this box, so I'm going to mark it, each edge. Mark it pretty tight, but then I cut my line so it gives me a little bit of gap around it that we can pull. I'm also going to measure up from the bottom 7 inches and put a mark. And then I'll measure up to that 4 3/4.
4 3/4.
So we'll go cut this out. We'll be right back. Now we can use our geckos from the second row up. And you want to put your gecko about, especially on long pieces, the shorter pieces you can put it right near the end. But we'll come in about 16 inches. So I'm going to put mine, now I can't get it in until after I put it. There we go. And it's got a handle to tighten it right here. Make sure that handle is down. And then the other thing is you want to make sure it's nice and pushed up against both sides on the bottom. So, and that holds our depth perfect. Now we're going to go through a nail. You don't want to cause a bubble in the middle. Kelsey's going to put the caulk on for the next one. And go back through it and set the nails. Next one's going to be right here for our joint. Forgot the bit. You're supposed to be doing that. By the way, this is a Makita siding nailer, and we've got ring shank coil nails that are 2 3/16 inch long.